The auction yard stank of dust and desperation, a place where dreams went to die under the hammer's fall. Cole Ramsey stood at the edge of the crowd, his weathered hands shoved deep into the pockets of his faded jeans, feeling the weight of his failing ranch like a noose around his neck. His eyes, shadowed by a battered Stetson, scanned the pens not for cattle, but for horses, one last gamble to save his land. Then he saw her. A girl, barely 19, stood defiant in a makeshift corral, her dark hair tangled like a storm cloud, her green eyes blazing with a fury that made the auctioneer flinch. The sign above her read, "Too wild. Unbroken. Cheap." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Trouble, runaway, no good. Cole's heart, hardened by years of loss, stuttered. He didn't know why, but he raised his hand when the bidding stalled. $10. Sold. Cole drove home in silence. The girl, Lila, she'd spat when he asked, slumped against the passenger door of his rusted pickup. The ranch loomed ahead, a crumbling relic of his father's pride, now choked with debt and drought. He'd bought her to work, to break horses, maybe to prove he could still save something. But Lila wasn't a hired hand. She was a wildfire, untamed and unpredictable, and Cole wasn't sure if he just saved her or doomed them both. The first week was a disaster. Lila hurled insults sharper than barbed wire, refused to eat at his table, and slept in the barn loft like a stray cat. Cole, stubborn as the cracked earth, pushed her to work. The horses, half-starved and skittish, needed breaking, and he couldn't afford to hire anyone else. Lila didn't flinch at their rearing hooves or snapping teeth. She moved among them like she spoke their language, her hands steady, her voice low and soothing. But with Cole, she was all sharp edges. "You think you own me," she snarled one evening, after he'd yelled at her for letting a colt bolt. "I ain't your property." Cole's temper flared, but her eyes, raw, haunted, stopped him cold. He turned away, muttering, "Just do your damn job." Days bled into weeks, and the ranch's pulse flickered. The bank sent letters, red-stamped, and final. Cole worked himself to the bone, fixing fences, hauling feed, but the numbers didn't lie. He was losing everything. Lila watched him, her silence louder than her earlier defiance. One dawn, he found her in the corral with Midnight, a black stallion no one could touch. She was astride him, bareback, her hair whipping as they tore across the dirt. Cole's breath caught. She wasn't breaking the horse, she was dancing with him, two wild souls moving as one. For the first time, he saw her not as a burden, but as something fierce and beautiful, like the land he was fighting for that night. Over a meager supper of beans and cornbread, Lila spoke unprompted. "I ran from a place worse than this," she said, her voice low, staring at her plate. "Foster homes. Men who thought they could take what they wanted." Cole's fork froze. He wanted to ask, to comfort, but the words stuck in his throat. "I ain't broken," she added, meeting his eyes. "And I ain't gonna let you break me neither." He nodded, the weight of her trust heavier than any debt. "I don't want to break you, Lila," he said quietly. I need help to keep this place alive." For the first time, she didn't look away. Their partnership was uneasy but real. Lila's gift with horses was undeniable. She trained Midnight and the others, turning them from wild to willing, their value rising with every smooth gait. Cole taught her the ranch's rhythms, how to read the sky for rain, how to mend a gate with baling wire. They fought, often. Her temper clashed with his stubbornness, but beneath it grew a grudging respect. Cole saw his younger self in her, angry, scared, fighting a world that didn't care. Lila saw in him a man who hadn't given up, even when he had every reason to. The Real challenge came in spring. A buyer from Texas offered a fortune for Midnight, enough to clear half the ranch's debt. Cole stood in the barn, staring at the stallion, his heart tearing. Selling meant survival. Not selling meant ruin. Lila found him there, her face pale. "You can't," she said, her voice cracking. He's like me." "You sell him, you're selling his soul." Cole's jaw tightened. "I ain't got a choice, Lila. This ain't about souls, it's about keeping the land." She stepped closer, her eyes fierce. "You think this land's worth more than what's alive on it? You're wrong, Cole. You're wrong." Her words haunted him. That night, he sat at the kitchen table, the contract unsigned, his father's old whiskey bottle tempting him. Lila's story echoed in his mind, her running, her fighting, her refusal to be owned. He thought of his father, who'd died for this ranch, and his mother, who'd left when the dirt turned to dust. Was he fighting for a legacy, or a grave? Dawn found him in the corral, watching Midnight run. Lila joined him, silent. "I ain't selling him," he said finally. "But I don't know. I don't know to fix this." She nodded, her shoulder brushing his. "We'll find a way," she said. Together. They did. Lila had an idea: horse clinics, teaching city folks to ride, to connect with animals like she did. Cole was skeptical, but her fire was contagious. They spread the word through town, and soon, families arrived, drawn by tales of the wild girl and her horses. Lila shone, her confidence a beacon. Cole handled the business, his steady presence grounding her. The money wasn't enough to erase the debt, but it bought time. More importantly, it brought life back to the ranch. Laughter, hoofbeats, hope of the bank came calling again, but this time, Cole faced them with Lila at his side. They presented a new plan: clinics, stud fees, a future built on skill and grit. The bankers, moved by their resolve, extended the loan. It wasn't a victory, but it was a chance. That night, under a sky blazing with stars, Cole and Lila sat on the porch. "You could have left," he said. "Why'd you stay?" She shrugged, a rare softness in her smile. "Guess I found something worth writing for, too." He chuckled, the sound rusty but warm. "You're still too wild," he teased. She grinned. "And you're still too stubborn. We're a pair." The story ends with Cole and Lila in the corral, training a new colt together. The ranch isn't saved, not yet, but it's alive, a testament to their refusal to break. The camera pans out, their laughter echoing, the horses grazing under a golden sky. A voiceover delivers the message: some things are too wild to tame, but just wild enough to save you. It's a story of redemption, not through grand gestures, but through the quiet strength of two broken people finding purpose in each other and the land that binds them.